This is BDC Talks, where we have really interesting and informal conversations about being a black graphic designer in today's world. I'm your host, Demi Harper. I'm a brand designer, and I've been a graphic designer for 15 years, going strong and surviving. And I'm joined here by Brian Hollingsworth. He's the expert as well that's come here to have a conversation with me. If you could just introduce yourself, Brian, talk a little bit about yourself for
Yeah,
those people
my
that are
name is
new.
Brian. Been designing for about a little over 18 years as well. I've done brand design, print design, digital design, social media design. Worked for some big and small companies. Usually it's where the part where people like reel off all the big names they worked for. Doesn't matter. You can check my portfolio out later. It's fine. It's cool. Just believe me. Yeah, I'm here with Demi. Demi has co-signed me.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're gonna have a good conversation today. So
Yeah, man, it's gonna be a good conversation. And for those of you who are new, most of you probably be watching this on the catch up. So this is also going live on YouTube at the moment, but you can always catch up as well. At any point, even after the live, you can drop it in the comments, drop it in the chat, just drop your questions, and we'll be happy to answer them either on this episode or the next episode. And at any point, you can follow us on the Black Design Circle on all platforms. Let's see that pops up. Yeah, the technology is working. Love it. One day Riverside is gonna sponsor me. Sponsor us.
amen.
Amen, amen. So yes, so that's it. So we're done with the intros here, but let's introduce the topic real quick. So I was talking to Brian about, this is like the first episode in 2025, and we were gonna talk. I brought in a different topic, but he suggested this topic, which is finding your purpose as a graphic designer. And I thought that was brilliant because if you don't have a strong why are you doing anything? Not just in graphic design, but generally in anything. And graphic design is one of those career paths that is very unforgiving. So you definitely need a strong ass why to keep going. But like, tell us a bit more about why you suggested this topic, Brian, and we'll go from there.
I can't remember the topic you suggested, but I thought it was like a leap. There was a stage before that, before
Yeah.
you get to that. I think it was like how to get started.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, before you even like get started, like software and or what type of design you should start doing and styles and how to like get inspiration. I was like, why the hell are you even trying to be a designer? It's like
Exactly.
because like for it, like you go online and there's so many designers now, especially and that's just the people that are making content. You know what I mean? So for me, it's like, well, why are you doing this? Because like you said, it's grueling. It's tough. It's like it's quite tough. It's very, very unforgiving, very brutal, very, very, very hard. It will get hard if you're gonna have a long career. And graphic design is something you can do for long. It's not like you're not like you're doing sports where your knee might cave in or your body gives in after a while. You could do this well until you die, into your 50s, 60s,
Absolutely.
70s. Like literally sitting in front of the computer or like commanding a team or whatever it is. So if you're going to have a long career, which you can, there has to be something there has to be a real deep, and maybe not deep, and maybe it can get deeper as the further you get into your career, but there has to be a real, why are you doing it? Otherwise, I promise you will crack, crumble, and quit.
Absolutely. And there'll be many tears on top of the tears that are already expected.
Exactly.
Even more tears on top of that.
Yeah.
It's quite funny. Because like on LinkedIn, I've been seeing a lot of posts on LinkedIn of people walking away from the industry because they're so frustrated with the state of the industry right now. People are just like, I'm done. Like I love design, but I'm done. I'm undervalued. Yeah. People don't want to pay us the right our rates. They're just taking the mick, and I'm done. I'm gonna chase another passion and chase something that's a bit more not easier, but something that's a bit more measured. So one guy said he's gonna do like IT, be an IT technician, and all power to him because he says he's passionate about IT. So I was like, okay, cool. But it was also sad to see like, oh wow, someone so passionate, you felt like it was necessary for you to walk away for your mental health. I don't want to put people off graphic design because like, but like any kind of creative endeavor, you have to have a strong ass why, because you'll be finished.
You will be finished. Yeah. Should we start there with that word passion?
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know if everybody. I didn't actually watch the speech yet, but I saw like a very short clip of Bashi winning a Mobo Award. I know he's not a
Okay.
graphic designer; he's a rapper.
Yeah.
But he said I can't remember all the jobs he had, but he was like, I've worked in retail, I've worked as a bus driver, I've worked as a postman, I've worked as this, that, and the other. And now he's winning a Mobo. He's an maybe not major, but he's been in a few shows in America. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Been in a few shows and films and stuff like that, and now he's like winning awards, and he's got an award-winning album, all that kind of stuff. So I know he's not a graphic designer, but he's an artist. He has an artistic output, which graphic design can be, and that is just grit.
Yeah.
That is grit. And if you ask me, he's a really good rapper. I like his rap.
Yeah, he's great.
Like sometimes you might have to have another job to support this job. I've had other jobs to support this job before. Again, you've been doing something for 18 years plus, 15 years plus. It's not always going to be, you're not always going to be on that up and up. If you want to have a long career, there's going to be some downturns. Like everybody in the pandemic, some people were in business for 25 years and it went out of business. Do you know what I mean? Some people, so I think that's one thing you got to prepare yourself for. That there's going to be some up years and maybe some down years or down months or whatever it is. But passion, the word back to the word passion might not be enough. Passion is just like one of the ingredients in this graphic design soup that you're gonna have to cook and drink. You know what I mean? and take and use to warm you up. Like passion is a good place to start, but really and truly, like I always say, like graphic design is kind of boring. Do you know what I mean? I know you go online and the content creators are trying to make it look exciting. It can be exciting. No, it can be exciting. But sometimes it can be boring. There are boring parts. Like you might like getting on a computer, but then there's a research part. There's a brief part. There's a sticking to the brief part. There's a client part. Sometimes I hate the client part. Sometimes I hate talking to clients. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes I love the research part.
Yeah,
more,
me too.
And I do more research than I'm like designing. Do you know what I mean? And sometimes like I hate the designer part. Like I ain't got ideas, or like, oh, I don't even want to design this, or like I don't even care about this. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, passion is just one of the kind of is that soft skill? I don't know. One of the feelings that you're gonna have towards this thing. But it's good. It's a good thing to have. It's not one of. I don't think it's one of those careers where you can just be like, oh, I'm not passionate about it, but I'm good about it. I think it kind of comes with the territory. You're gonna have passion. And it would drive you to kind of create stuff, but it's not going to take you all the way, because passion, you can't take passion to the bank. You can't take passion to the bank. When you're pissed off about clients or being, under nobody wants to pay your rate, passion is not. It's not going to get you out of bed in the morning to kind of be like, yeah, I'm going to be enthusiastic. So like you need passion, you need enthusiasm, you need direction, you need purpose, you need grit. You know what I mean? And these are things that kind of can't be quantified. Like, it's not like, oh, I've got all the programs, or I've got this super fast laptop. That's easy stuff to get. These are stuff that you wake up to do. And it's like, this is why I wanted to talk about the why, because if you don't have all this stuff inside you, how you start, what logos you do, or who you're trying to work with actually doesn't even matter. Actually doesn't matter, because you're going to encounter so many people that are going to try and rip you off. You're going to encounter so many people that don't know how to interact with you. Like a client doesn't know how to interact with you before. Good. Like I had a client that was like, oh, I fired them, by the way, but they were like, oh, first give me multiple designs and then let me see them before, like it's not even like a draft. It was like, let me see it before you kind of send it to me, kind of thing. Like, let me see what you work on to see if I like it. And I was just like, what? It wasn't like, oh, send me a draft. It was like, no, it was weird. It was like halfway to the draft, like, let me see. And I was just like,
what's
the
point?
Just not how it works. It's just not how it works. Yeah, it's just not how it works.
This is what we get.
Yeah, it's just not how it works.
Yeah.
But yeah, people will mess you about. So I think you need, apart from a strong why, you need passion, enthusiasm, grit, all this kind of stuff. So
yeah, you need all these ingredients, because there's times that you're not going to be passionate about what you do. At the end of the day, it's a job. It's a job.
It is a job.
And you're not going to be passionate about that job all of the time. If you are, then I want to have what you're having. Whatever you're drinking or smoking, give it to me, because I'm not passionate about it all the time. And there's, like you said, there's parts of it that I really don't like. even when you're running your own business, you have to do the accounting. If you don't,
Mm-hmm.
if you don't have an accountant, I just had to get an accountant recently because I was just like, I can't do this by myself. Project management, thinking of systems, sales, all these things. That's if you're working for yourself. But even if you're
Yeah,
working in an office, you're gonna have to in-house as an in-house designer. You're gonna be expected to do some things that are even outside your job description. Sometimes some people,
exactly.
some in some places they think just because you're a graphic designer you're great with computers.
Yeah.
I've been in a place where
Oh, wow.
I've been the graphic designer, but I've been asked to do all the IT issues
Yeah,
because like they don't have an IT person, and
yeah,
what's the closest person to do that? Just because I use software, and I'm just like, well, I guess I'll figure it out. But again,
yeah,
that kind of experience built up my grit
yeah,
because it helped me learn to be a problem solver. So you have to be quite
yeah.
open minded at the beginning, and your why is what's going to keep you open minded. If you're just there, I went to when we went to Amsterdam for university on a trip. We went to an agency. I don't even know what the agency was called, to be
Mm.
honest. Um, to be honest, I was just in Amsterdam for vibes. That was when I did have a strong why.
Yeah.
And they said to me, which I don't completely agree with, but I understand where they were coming from. They said if you are in this for the money, you're in the wrong industry, which I kind of 99% kind of agree with, sort of,
Mm.
or less than that. But I don't think it's completely true because you can
Yeah,
make a lot of money as a
you
graphic
can.
designer. This is very
It
hard.
depends what side of on the it depends what side you're on.
Yeah,
If you're a business owner, you might say that to some young designers to get them
yeah,
cheap.
yeah, exactly. So I'm just thinking,
Yeah,
what were you trying to do here?
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so I think what he
yeah.
was trying to say was that that shouldn't be the primary reason you want to be a graphic
Yeah.
designer. It
I
can't be
mean,
the
it's
only reason.
yeah.
You,
You're not a
you know,
stock trader. You're not a stock
yeah,
trader.
nah,
You know.
you
Yeah,
need so many other things, and it's quite a.
yeah,
It's not one of those jobs that it's just like 1 + 1 = 2. It's one plus
mm.
one equals C.
Yeah.
Like it's just, and it's hard to quantify. So you need
I
a
said C.
really, yeah. See what I mean? Like it's just what it is. Like
Yeah,
hard to explain. Every client is different. Everything is different. Every job is kind of different. You can have same systems, but nothing is predictable.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Every brief is going to be different. Every
every brief is
interaction.
different.
Yeah, every
Yeah.
project is going to be different. There's no cookie cutter. You
None.
know, pick your font from these 5 fonts or whatever it is. You know what I mean? There's no real template for it. Like it's not it's not Canva. You can't just pick a template and edit that. Everything is bespoke. We're gonna have to talk through this, and we're gonna have to. You're creating something unique.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I want to ask a question.
yeah, go on.
What would you say is we're talking about having a strong why, having a why, right? What would you say is your why as a graphic designer? Okay, first off, actually,
Hmm.
is that the right question at this stage? Yeah, I would say what is your why?
So for me personally, so let me take it back. So when I started, I didn't have a why. I
Mhm.
just so I did art in my younger years. Then I went into graphic architecture. So I was
Yeah.
like studying architecture. I was copying my older cousin, and then I stumbled upon kind of graphic design. I was in a summer school in a uni in Goldsmiths University
Mm.
in London, and there was a class there on graphic design. And I found it, and it found me, and I just kind of loved it ever since. And I pursued the design ever since. So I didn't have a why. The why was just why not? Because I'm a
Okay.
creative person, and I've always been a creative person, and this is a creative output that I think um, I can do, and
Mm.
I just kept on doing it. Over the years, that was about 18 years ago. I was about 16 then,
Mm.
16, 17. Over the years, why the hell have I kept doing it? Even though sometimes I've had no clients, I've been broke, no job, I've had job, been fired from jobs.
Mm.
Why have I kept going? I feel like because that is, I think ultimately that's one of the ways I express myself. And so that's one of the ways I express myself. Despite it being very hard, I love to do it.
Yeah.
Not always, but I do love to do it.
Mm.
And I think it, again, not always fun, but sometimes it is fun. I've worked on some really boring stuff, and I've worked on some really fun stuff.
Okay.
So some stuff that I think about till today, and I'm like, that's really fun. And I
Yeah.
think it can, and I honestly think graphic design is everything. Like
Mm.
everything is design, and it has so much impact on the world. And I
Yeah.
think deep down, I want to make an impact. I want to make an impact with something that I can produce. And I won't stop until I might make a impactful book or an impactful, I don't know, shirt or an impactful poster or an impactful campaign, or not me, not necessarily just me. I may work with a team that does it or a company that does it, whatever it is, right? But I think deep down, I want to make some impact, and I think this is the way I can make an impact. And I've lent my skills to different organizations trying to do that, whether it be church, whether it be charity, whether it be political parties or corporate entities, products, whether it be companies run by women or minorities. And I loved working on these projects because I felt like I was doing a service, like doing an impact, not only for the person I was designing for, but like to the world in general. And I think something we spoke about off camera was like, it comes down to values as well. Again, I think like the world is kind of a terrible place. It can be a terrible place, but there can be a lot of good in it as well. And I want to be seen as doing something good in the world. You know, when I leave this place and my kids see the work I've done, I'm like, oh, this stuff was like really good. This is the stuff that my dad put out, or my granddad or my great granddad put out into the world. We can have a book, we can print on the wall or wherever it is. And this, like, he created this, and that's what I want to see myself doing, kind of all the time. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, So that's my why.
Oh, that's a really good. It's kind of like you want to solve problems. At the end of the day, and that's what graphic designers do. Graphic designers are problem solvers. One of the first things I learned in uni was I did graphic design in college. They taught me more of the craft of graphic design, but when I went to university, they taught me more about the problem solving side of things. So they taught me to solve problems, and so that kind of opened my mind to what graphic design was. And for me, that's that's the core foundation of what I do. And even if I was applying for a job, I want the impact. I want to see my impact around the world. One of the earliest things that I worked on, which was a competition for a charity, and the competition was like, okay, create a poster about mobile theft, mobile phone theft, and this was like in maybe 98. No, not 98, not that long ago. Like maybe 2001, 2002. So it was at the time when the first like colored phones were coming out, because the price was like a mobile phone that had a colored screen. So I was one of the first people in my friends to have a phone that had color. And we had to create a poster. So I created a poster, and I'd been in Photoshop since I was in like early secondary school. So, and I could already draw cartoons and stuff. I won that competition so easily. And that showed, and the poster was actually, I could see it on the billboards outside and stuff. So so that for me, it was in me early, before I even knew what graphic design was. Of course, I always liked art and everything, but as time has gone on, I've realized that I like to make people's dreams come true, and I like to help people pursue their passion. So I'm very inspired by the person who's like, I have a skill and I want to build my own business and stuff. I'm inspired by their passion to build their own business, and I want to help them do that. I think that's a very, very strong why for me. It's still related to the problem solving aspect of it, but for me, it's about helping people helping people pursue their passions and seeing their dreams come true. I think that's really, really important for me, and it drives me. Drives me to go to the extra mile when I'm working for a client, because I actually care about what they're doing. So that's a strong why for me. And
one thing I've always said about graphic design is that, like, which we can clearly hear from both of us, that it's a support role. It's not I'm up on the stage, I'm the star. We're not necessarily the
we're
stars.
not the main characters though.
And I know, and I know there's like so many graphic designers, there's so many thousands and 100,000 millions probably even of followers on social media and getting all these views and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, you are supporting somebody's business, somebody else's vision. And of course you can have your own vision, you can make your own stuff. Of course, like I actively encourage, side projects and even creating your own companies and stuff like that.
Mm.
But at the end of the day, if you are you're looking for clients and stuff like that, even if you're looking for an audience to sell your stuff, I guess you might be supporting your audience's vision of what they like to see in the world or whatever. But
Yeah.
for the main part, most people work client side, so
Yeah.
you are supporting that person. You are in a support role. You're not the main character. Do you know what I mean? And it's like it's a serving role.
Yeah.
You are the guy in the movie that loads the arrows. You know what I
You're
mean?
Hawkeye.
Yeah, Hawkeye. Like, yeah. You're not Iron Man. You're not Tony Stark.
Nah.
You're not at the front of the poster. You're at the
Yeah.
back somewhere
Exactly.
trying to get in. But you play a huge supporting role that can take that company and that client to the next level, whether it's making millions, thousands, or just being more visible, whatever it is. And
Absolutely.
I think seeing how impactful you can be to other people's companies, other people's lives, because it's a personal thing. Like if you put your life into a company and someone supports you and helps you do that, it's very personal. It's a very personal thing. So the amount of clients faces I've seen, I'm glad I supported that business, even that business, even if it necessarily isn't running till today or isn't doing well, whatever. I'm glad that I supported that business in that way. And I think that's just a priceless thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that reframes your approach when you're working with people, because you have to leave your ego at the door when you're a designer. You can't be a graphic designer. If you're a graphic designer based on ego and you want to show off, it'll make you a very bad designer. Because it won't become about you. It won't become about the audience. It's about you. And then it makes you a bad problem solver, because let's say a client wants a certain thing, but you feel like you know better. Just because you know better doesn't make you a good designer. It just makes you arrogant. And you might know better. For the most part, you will know better, but it's about how you handle your knowledge. There's a difference between wisdom and knowledge. And when people have knowledge, they just collect information. And it's like, look at me, I know so much about this. I know about the kerning of a letter. Ooh, the font of this thing is really bad, blah blah blah. Or whatever. But then when you need to have humility, because there's times where you're not, especially when you're working in the in-house as an in-house designer, what the director says goes. You can't just
it's a collaboration.
It's a collaboration at the end of the day.
Never forget it's a collaboration.
Exactly. And you need to pick your battles. And if you're there for your own ego, you're gonna get fired so quickly. Because you're not a team player. You feel what I mean? There's times where I've had to be like, I don't like this. Like, in my opinion, this is my opinion, but I will do it. Yeah.
I saw a reels today, funny enough, that is exactly. So there's exactly that kind of that anecdote. There's a famous video director called Director X. He's done loads of videos, and he was doing an interview, and he was like, "Oh, when I'm directing a video, and I've like done the treatment and done the brief or whatever." He's like, I'm the second highest person. The only person above me that can change anything is the artist. Anyone like necessarily, I say below, but anyone working in the team below me cannot change anything. He's like, if I say I want a blue background, nobody can come up to me saying it's red. The only person who can say it's red is the artist, right? But if anyone like the DP says, oh, I want it, I think you should do it red, he'd be like, no. But if they come and say, I want it cobalt blue, okay, cool. I want it, sea blue, okay, cool. I want it navy blue, cool. As long as it's blue, I don't necessarily care what blue it is. You can make it a better blue, but that's fine. But you're not going to change it from blue. And he said, because one time he did a video for Drew Hill, and I think they came up to him, maybe Cisco, one of them. He was like, oh, they were like, oh, can we have the backdrop? Can we have the background red? And he was like, yeah, knowing full well that he was not going to make it red. He didn't care what they said. And he said, when we did the video, he said, I made the backdrop black because I wanted it. And he's like, when he did the video, they were wearing black. Black on black is very hard to light. Like, it's damn near impossible, right? Because it's black on black. Do you know what I mean? It fade into the background. And he was like, that was a terrible mistake. That I should have listened to them and made it red, because red on black would have looked amazing. But I didn't listen to them, and that was a mistake, because I thought I knew better. And he's like, but they're the artists. At the end of the day, it's their video. They might put my name on it, I might put in the credits, but they're in the video. It's their video, and he's like, they have a artistic taste and tone that they know and that they have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, my little one's just walked in. The
No worries.
artistic tone that
Yeah.
they have.
Mm.
Um, and you don't know that. You're not a part of that.
Mm.
You are a part of like everything else, and you have to help them also bring that vision forward. It's not necessarily your vision. You're helping them.
Mm.
You're supporting them. And he was like, after that, I never made that mistake again. The artist is
Yeah.
above me, and then I have like the next vision. And
Yep.
then not that they can like change everything, but if they have a vision, that's how they see them. It's their music. They made the music, and
Yeah.
I thought that
Yeah.
was like, wow, that was an amazing. And he's like an older guy now, and I was like, wow, that's an
Mm.
amazing thing that he's come up with, like to say like
Mm.
they're above me and
True.
um, anybody else under me can't necessarily change
Mm.
anything unless it goes through me. He's like the funnel. Do you know what I mean? And I'll talk to the artist about it or whatever.
Mm.
Do you
Yeah.
mind? I'm going live here.
maybe, maybe your kid has something to say about being humble.
Hold on. Give me a second. I'm gonna mute.
No problem at all. But while Brian trying to get his house in order, at any point, I see a couple of you have joined. At any point, you can
Come on
drop
back.
a comment. Welcome back. You can drop a comment in the chat, whether you're on YouTube. You'll be on YouTube. So at any point, drop a comment in the chat if you agree or whatever it is, or you have any questions. Just drop it in the chat, and we'll be happy to respond to them. Cool. You know what that just reminded me of? Have you seen during when COVID first started, and then they
The guy
had
on the news.
the guy on the news, and then the wife is like, crawling on the floor trying to drag the child out. It's hilarious.
Legendary video, man.
What a
She's
time to
she's
be
probably
alive.
watching that now. She's probably like 10 years old watching that.
Yeah, that's so funny. Okay, cool. So there's something I wanted to touch on in terms of like this. Let's talk about the philosophy side of things.
Yeah.
And because you need to have a strong why.
Yeah.
And when you have a strong why, let me frame it this way. In your career as a graphic designer, you're going to butt heads with some things, and some things you might not agree with, and some things that you're going to have to ask yourself, should I do this? And it's not really just about the money. Sometimes we think about, oh, okay, this is too cheap or whatever, which is also a thing. But like, sometimes you're gonna be like, is this something that's really, you have to be very, very self-aware, and it's just like, okay, does this align with my philosophy, And you were saying something about that, and so if you want, do you
Yeah.
want to expand on that?
So philosophy sounds like a deep word. I think what will probably make it more grounded is like values, and I'll use them like interchangeably, like kind of synonymously. Yeah. So you need to kind of figure out what your values are and like what you will and won't do. And that kind of just is based on who you are. So I was in a lecture, and one of the students there said she was working at an agency, and they had a contract or whatever, and it was for a bank. But one of the designers on the team, he was a Muslim, and he said that he can't work on this bank's campaign or whatever it was, because obviously they're promoting interest, and if you're Muslim, you don't take any interest.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, someone else might be like, oh, that's so stupid. No, but I thought that was very respectable, and I
Very.
respect that
Yeah.
highly, because that's part of his values, like his real life values. Do you know what I mean? Like that's a part of him, and that would be going against his religion. And it doesn't have to be, obviously that in that case it was his religion. It doesn't have to be your religion, but you can just be like, oh no, I don't want to promote. I don't want to design for any smoking companies or alcohol brands or gambling brands. That's not necessarily part of your religion, but you might have a bad experience with that, or you just don't want to promote it because it's not the type of thing that you want to promote. You might not even want to work with like Coca-Cola or Nike or McDonald's for whatever, they're Nestle or P&G or or these big huge companies, because of their practices or whatever, do you know what I mean, and stuff like that. So it can go all the way from like religious to like just kind of personal values to like actually working and not working for specific companies or specific campaigns or specific things. You might call yourself a green designer, where you only work with companies that are promoting
climate,
climate.
climate,
Yeah,
whatever it's called.
yeah, yeah.
Clearly, we're not the
Climate.
designers that do that.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Or you might say you only want to work with women, or you might want to work with minorities, or you might only want to work with charities and stuff. And the list can go on and off.
Yeah.
Or you might be the opposite. You might be like, I want to work with all the big companies. I want to design for all of them. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter. But it's your philosophy, and which should be linked to your values. It should be personal to you.
Yeah.
And like, for instance, like. So I kind of put it to values. I wanted to touch on values first, but my personal philosophy. I got two philosophies. So my personal philosophy, and your philosophy can change and update, over time.
Yeah.
So my personal philosophy is create more, and that's just what I use personally to kind of keep going. Whether I had a bad client, bad experience, bad payday, late payment, whatever it is, bad project, bad campaign, whatever, or I had my eyes on something and I didn't get it. The answer to me is like, I'll just keep creating, because creation, like, it never ends. It never ends. Do you know what I mean? I was watching a reels today, and it was just like it was a dancer. She was in Not Like Us, Kendrick Lamar's video, and I was looking at her dance. I was just looking at all her videos dancing. I just got sucked in for like 15 minutes, right?
Yeah.
On reels, that's like 2 hours. So I got sucked in for like 15 minutes, and I was like, isn't it crazy how I've never heard a dancer saying they ran out of dances? But you always hear like creatives, I've got creative block, I've got writer's block, this, that, and the other. And I'm like, to a certain extent, I believe in it, but I don't believe in it. Like, obviously, things can happen in your life, right? And even that particular dancer, at one point, she stopped dancing because she had lost someone close to her. So things can happen in your life that stops you doing it, of, it blocks you. But I think generally, it's not just on a Tuesday afternoon. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's techniques you can use. But anyway, I diverge. So I feel like so my personal philosophy is like create more. As long as I'm creating more and trying to create things, whether it's for a client or it's for myself or whatever it is, whether it's an idea or I'm just writing it down, I'm not even necessarily pursuing it, because writing is also creativity. That's my personal philosophy. My kind of business philosophy for my agency, my studio, is kind of like, we brand your experience. So whatever experience you have, we take that and we wrap it up and we brand it, and something that can be packaged to the world. And that's a philosophy that I've had for years. I'm feeling like updating it this year, but I still love the fact that if you come to my website, the philosophy is that it's about you, and it's about you being the expert, or you being the skilled person, or whatever it is you're offering. And we take that experience that you have, and we show that experience to the world in a way that's digestible and palatable and marketable. That's kind of where I'm at with philosophy.
I like what you said about the person that on your course that give that example, because sometimes we can get caught up in the momentum and in the what the tide takes us, and we're like, okay, we get one job, then we go to the next one, then we go to the next one because it's a higher pay. I was in that kind of motion, and what happened was, like, okay, I was working as a graphic designer as a junior to mid-level, and I was just taking on the best jobs that come, and I didn't really care so much about what the jobs were doing. I was the sort of person that would find my passion within the job, which is also okay. But then it didn't last me that long, because I was just like, why am I here? You see what I mean? Then I'll move to the next thing. My most interesting job, though, was when I worked for a gaming company, and I love video games. You see what I mean? And I applied for one. That's one philosophy. So I was actually genuinely interested in the job, but I didn't get the job for the video gaming department. Got filled. But then there was a job for the military defense department.
Oh wow!
That was open, so they interviewed me for that, and I was like, "Oh, this is really interesting."
This is a mad company, video games and military. You don't have to say the company, but
it was if you Google it, you'll probably find it anyway. But it was basically they took their technology for the video games and applied it to war games. So about military defense, military training. So you could make like a copy of like different environments and like and then experiment and say, okay, what if we cut off electricity? What if there was like a pandemic this was before COVID, like and I joined just before COVID, so it's crazy. But I enjoyed it for a certain amount of time. I was just like, okay, cool. Like, because the first thing they asked me, and they understood, like, you need to have your values need to align to work here because it's quite a
Yeah.
morally gray place to
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
And they told me, like, they asked me, how do you feel morally about working in a place like
Oh,
this? Because
that's a good question.
it's a bit of a, and we totally understand people that don't want to work in a place like this because it is
Yeah.
morally gray. But how do you feel about that? And I was just like, look, like, I love to solve problems and stuff like that. And as much as I see the morally great part of things, I also see the benefits to having the technology like this. So that was how I aligned myself to it. But then something you said is that, like, your values can change over time.
Mm.
And at a certain point in that company, and nothing wrong with the company itself, the company was actually great. It's the best place I've ever worked.
Oh wow.
It was the first time I had unlimited holidays. I was like,
Oh wow.
Unlimited? What? Bring your dog into the office? What? I ain't got a dog, but everyone else got a dog. So it was great. It was a fun way to work. I loved my team. They were great. The people, they were
Yeah.
just awesome people. And but when it became a thing of, like, when the Ukraine war was at its height, the
Mm.
conversation started getting a bit like, okay, like, a bit dodgy for me. Not dodgy. They weren't
Mm.
trying to be dodgy, but they had to talk about it, and they had to be
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
how does this affect what we do,
Mm.
and what can we do in response to this? And then for me, it shifted from a bit morally gray down to the other side of things a little bit,
It's
just a
black.
tiny bit. Yeah, it's into
Yeah.
the black. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And and then that's just kind of that switched something in my mind, and I
Mm.
was just like, I'm not sure that I can work here anymore
Mm.
because of that, because I'm uncomfortable with this.
Mm.
So that's when I started actually looking for another job, because
Okay.
also because of progression and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
that was the trigger for me,
Yeah.
in that I needed to be like, okay, how I needed to be honest with myself and be like, how long can I work it somewhere that I'm
Mm.
not really morally, I'm not sure if I align with it. Yeah,
I was actually gonna ask you, have you ever quit a job because you like your values kind of didn't align with it
yeah,
after maybe after a while? And yeah, I
yeah,
got the answer because
yeah,
I have as well. So I used to work for the
mm,
Conservative Party.
yeah,
I was kind of on and off contracting for them for about 3 years, and then I became permanent for
mm,
about 2 years. Um,
yeah,
worked with some different prime ministers, different mayoral candidates, and in the beginning, I was doing like work that was kind of disparaging different communities,
mm,
candidates of the opposition and stuff like that. It didn't bother me because I didn't know anything about politics. I was very young. Had a kid and I needed money, so I didn't care. But the
mm,
older I got, I started, and the more I learned about politics and hanging around these people and hearing their conversations and
yeah, sure,
getting my own political what do you call it, my own political, like yeah, my own political language
yeah,
and picking that up. I started to have my own values towards it, and the more
mm,
I knew, the less I kind of wanted to be there. And it
yeah,
eventually got to, so I think they ousted Theresa May, they kicked her out, and
mhm.
then they were bringing in Boris to run, and it was then I was like, I think this is where I kind of get off. And I've
Yeah,
been working about 4, maybe nearly 5 years with them. Um, and I was like, yeah, this is where I get off the ride. I
yeah,
don't really like this guy, and a lot of people actually quit because they were running with him as the candidate, and eventually
oh wow,
obviously became the prime minister. Yeah, literally, like the chairman quit. Um, a lot of
wow,
people quit. Yeah, the actual chairman of the party. Yeah, so
mm,
yeah, he quit. And a lot of people just kind of left with him as well in his team and
yeah,
stuff like that because they just didn't like Boris and they didn't like what was
wow,
going on and stuff like that. And I was like, yeah, I don't really like Boris.
mm,
And it's like, it might sound crazy because obviously you're getting paid and like you were getting paid. And it's like, well, why walk away from a job just because, but until you're in that position and you're thinking, because once you cross that line, there's kind of, you can't, I'm
mm,
not saying you can't go back, like it's not, it's not murder, but
yeah,
it's like once you cross the line of like anything goes, like
yeah,
anything goes. And I'm not saying, oh, you're gonna lose yourself and lose your values.
mm,
No, but again, I think this profession is something that can take you to that point of
yeah,
you got to ask yourself like, what am I doing? Like, is this what I want to do? Like
yeah,
what? Because again, it's a supportive role, so you are
yeah,
uh, you know, could be supporting a war. You could be putting someone in power. And don't get me wrong, they're gonna do it with or without you. But the question is, do you want to be a part of that? Do you know what I mean? Would you, when you're in a crowd and your friends or your people, or you're on a podcast, are you gonna say, yeah, man, I designed that propaganda poster or whatever it is? Like, do you know what I mean? Yeah, man, I was. At
the
some
boss
point,
that
it's
told
like,
that said all the NHS
yeah,
will get money
and I
after
I
Brexit.
actually know the guy who did that as well. I actually know the guy who did that. Yeah. I know him. I mean,
Was he
not know
black?
him. No, come on. It's not. No. It's not. It's not. I worked with him. In Kenya for some time. Yeah. A little birdie. Apparently, he made that whole thing up. Like, he just made it up and put it on the bus. Apparently, I say apparently.
Maybe he's Canva.
Anyway, yeah. He was. Yeah. And it's like, it's stuff like that where it's like you hear and you see stuff like that and you know stuff and you're just like, what the hell? Like, stuff that can just be done so flippantly from this side, but it has major effects. And it's like, do you want to be a part of that? It's up to you. And I'm not saying, you got some moral high horse and Christianity or whatever it is. But again, it's up to you. And to be honest, you're going to be doing stuff that you're not even necessarily going to get a piece of the pie of. So it's not like they're giving you an extra 20K bump. Do you know what I mean? That might grease the wheel a bit. But if it's just my normal salary, but now I'm doing the devil's work, like, you know what? I'm gonna get a normal salary somewhere else, man. Do you know what I mean? There was one story I wanted to say as well. In terms of like going back to having a strong why. So right now I'm doing some research on some Black designers, both alive and dead, and I stumbled. The first person I'm doing is Emery Douglas, and he was, I think his official title might have been like head of design for Black Panther, but you can call him creative director, art director, chief creative director, whatever it is. But he headed all of the design, whether it was their posters, postcards, and mainly their newspaper, that they had a weekly newspaper going out, and he designed all of it. He was in charge of all of it. And how he got started, I think he said he was like looking outside of his window one day and he saw the Black Panther Party in the street, and then he ran down and he saw them, and I think they were in their office. I think the office was across from his house, from his flat. He ran down and he saw them making a newspaper, and he had experience from working in newspaper factories and where they print newspapers and stuff. And he was like, oh man, this is terrible. Like, I can help you guys. Like, this is rubbish. You guys are doing it all wrong. I'm gonna go get my stuff. I'm gonna get my equipment, because obviously a lot of stuff was by hand, and you had to like cut stuff out, right? Cut pictures out and paste pictures down and all that kind of stuff, right? There was no InDesign. So he ran back upstairs, but by the time he came back down, they already finished it. They weren't waiting for him. They'd already finished it. So he didn't get to do the first issue of the newspaper or whatever issue that was, but he did every other issue after that and every other poster, etc. And he's got some really, really historically incredible work. And he just he's still alive, by the way, and he just noted down that, I wanted to be a part of what they were doing because I saw what they were doing was really, really good, and I wanted to be a part of that. And again, it comes back to one of my whys is impact, and he's like, he wanted to be a part of that. And again, he's still alive, so he's seen the whole roller coaster of the Black Panther Party, and what they represent to this day. And I know they're still doing some stuff today, but obviously we're not in the same time when it was, particularly needed in terms of civil rights. And I just thought that was a really, really good, impactful story of, a designer that got to make history. Like, he got to, he made history. He is history. Do you know what I mean? And he's still creating till this day. And I think he's more of an artist now than he is a designer. I think he may have seen it as more art, but he knew that the art had to have like a commercial kind of output to speak to people. But if you look at a lot of his work, his name's Emery Douglas. If you get to look at his work, just search him up, or just search Black Panther Party head designer. Emery Douglas, and you'll see a lot of his work, and it's very artistic, it's very unique, and it's very potent because it's political. Do you know what I mean? And again, he had his why, and he did that for many, many years. And he supported a cause. So I guess sometimes you can ask yourself, what cause do you want to support? I grew up Christian, and I supported the church with my design. I know you have as well, Demi. I've supported the church a lot of the time, and now I'm supporting charities and the sickle cell community, because my son has sickle cell.
Mm.
So I'm supporting, pushing, giving blood and education of sickle cell
Yeah.
in our community. So you again, your supporting role, and I think don't take away from the fact it's not all just logos and like posters and stuff
Mm.
like that. Don't take away from the fact that you have a powerful position and a powerful gift and
Mm.
talent and skill
Yep.
that you can do again at the start. I said you could do it forever until you die, right? You can do
Yeah.
it until you die, and it's a very powerful supporting role that it's you are seen but not heard. Um,
Mm.
but
Yeah.
your work can be very much seen and can be very very impactful. So if you want to do this career, ask yourself like really what is it I'm trying to do. Like
Yeah.
a logo is
Yeah.
like this, it's a small part of the whole
Yeah.
thing. And this is why I wanted to start with the why rather than how to get started, because we can teach you how to get started,
Yeah.
but you can get started and in 6 months you could be out.
Yeah.
But if you actually ask yourself, like, what do I want to use my gift for?
Mm.
This is a gift, and because you see the world in a completely different way, and you can put things together in a completely unique way. Anything that you design has never been designed before.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's just never been designed that way. It's just never been designed.
Yeah.
You're gonna take inspirations from things, but whatever you create has never actually been created before, and that
Yeah.
is tremendously
Yeah.
powerful.
That's really
So
powerful.
if you're gonna use, I'll go Spider-Man here. Great power comes great
Yeah,
responsibility.
exactly. Never gets sold.
It doesn't.
But it's true.
So yeah, so if you're gonna use it, it's gonna be tough. It's tough, and even just quickly with the superhero stuff,
Yeah.
it's tough to always be a superhero. If you read the comics or even if you watch the shows and the movies, they're always put in a difficult situation where it's like, oh, Batman does or Superman doesn't kill. Do you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
Joker's killing and Bane is killing, and it's like, but you're always going to be
Exactly.
in a difficult position because you have a power. Do you know what I mean? And graphic design or just being artistically having an artistic vision is a power, and I
Yeah.
think it might be good for you to have certain values where you will and won't. Again, somebody's going to
Yeah.
do it, whether you don't. But again, it's up to you of what you kind of want to put in the world, what you want your legacy to be,
Yeah.
and what you put your power to. Like when I
Absolutely.
passed, I want him to say, no, he helped the sickle cell community push the agenda of
Mm.
the Black community giving blood. Do you know what I mean? And I can
Mhm.
sleep so good at night knowing that that is one thing that
Yeah.
I'm trying to help do. Um,
Absolutely.
because there's so many,
Absolutely.
like you said, it's a problem solving thing. So there's so many issues you can pick up and solve.
Mhm.
There's whether it's like illnesses, cancer, leukemia,
Mhm.
breast cancer, whatever, women's rights, men's rights, gay rights, whatever's on your heart, like
Mm.
religious rights, whatever's on your heart, you can pick up. Or it could be something as simple as like, oh, I want to work for fashion brands, and I think fashion can change the world. It doesn't have to be
Mhm.
something super deep. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It could just be, yeah, it could
Yeah.
be like tech brands or whatever, or crypto. I don't know. It can be something super deep. It can be something super personal, and it can be something that can be deemed as super light or whatever it is. But you have to understand your power, and part of that is like knowing why the hell you even get up every day to do it.
Yep.
Because one day you might not want to, or someone might affect you in a way that makes you not want to. To
Yeah.
this day, sometimes I don't want to do it because of how people are treating me or how people are interacting with me. But I
Mhm.
still do because I know that this one interaction is not the be all and end all of my career or my life.
Yeah.
There's impact to be made. And just
Mhm.
because somebody doesn't see it or somebody doesn't know how to handle you or somebody doesn't want to pay you, that's a small.
Yeah.
That's just a story for a podcast.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. And thanks for that. Like that's the crux of it at the end of the day. And one thing I wanted to also add is that you're not gonna know your why at the beginning.
you know,
Like you
yeah,
just have to be open to the journey of finding that why. And your why will change over time as you go through life. Like you get married, you have
exactly,
kids,
yeah,
life changes, you move to another country, all these kind of things.
exactly.
So your why is always going to be shaped by what's going on with you in your life. But
Exactly.
it's the
Exactly.
pursuit of that why that's
Yeah.
really, really important. And knowing that and not feeling bad because you're at the beginning of your graphic design career and you don't have a strong why. Be
Yeah.
curious. Your
Yeah.
why is to be curious. Your why is to
Yeah.
explore. that's your why, you know, and that's a good
Exactly.
why to start off with, and
Yeah.
then over time allow yourself to be shaped by that, and then
Yeah.
you find things that you're passionate about. And one
Mm.
thing I really love is when people have a really strong skill, but they have something they're really passionate about, and it just creates
Mm-hmm.
this like really unique storytelling
Mm.
story that you know that they're sharing with everyone. And I think that's really cool. So if you want to get started in graphic design, look, like, just get started, but don't put too much
Yeah.
pressure
Just
on
get started.
yourself.
Yeah.
Just get
Just get started.
started, and know that it's not perfect, but it is
Mm.
very rewarding, especially when you
Mm.
have a strong purpose and why behind
Mm.
it.
I can't lie to you. Even if your why, and I'm gonna round up. Even if your why is like I want to get money. At some point, I was just trying to get money, so I didn't care what I did
Yeah.
for it. I was like, just as long as you're paying me what I deem to be enough for
Mm.
me at this time, and that is fine. I
Yeah.
think everyone's probably gonna go through that stage of like, yeah,
Yeah.
let me just get whatever is deemed enough money for me at that time, right? And
Yeah.
I think that is completely fine. I think that's a really good stage to go through,
Yeah.
because I think at the end of that stage, you probably find why and purpose,
Yeah.
um, because we're adults, or we're young
Mm.
adults, and we have to survive. We have to
Yeah.
survive in England, in London, in the UK, or wherever you are,
This
in the
place can
world.
be bad
So
vibes, but that's a topic for
yeah,
another day.
yeah.
So
So
yeah.
whatever your why is, it doesn't have to be some deep spiritual God sent me. Like it just
Yeah.
has to
Yeah.
be enough for you to get
Mm.
started and to keep you going until you find the next why. But yeah,
Absolutely, and that's an awesome way to round it off.
yeah,
And if any of you have any questions at any, anytime, whether we're doing these live sessions, whether you're watching it in the in the video afterwards, make sure that you can just drop your comments in the chat. Drop your questions in the comments or whatever. We might bring up in the next video.
yeah,
And if you're online, we're on everything called every platform at the Black Design Circle. So you can find us there, and you can find some short clips of everything eventually when this is edited. But that's where to find us, and of course you can always the link to join the community if you're a Black graphic designer. Doesn't matter what skill level you're at. The link is in the description of this episode, so you can join the community through the link in the episode. And I think that's everything from me. Anything else from
yeah.
you, Brian?
No, everything for me too.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Brian.
Ah,
And
thank you.
for everyone that's tuned in, thank you, and we'll catch you on the next episode.
Yeah. All right. See you next time.
See you next time. Ooh, oh, no technical glitches. Wow.